On June 24, 2024, a player blacksmith named Lisbeth, who had her own custom shop in the main town of the 48th floor, Lindarth, had just finished sharpening Asuna's rapier, the lambent light. Having her interest sparked, Lisbeth asked Asuna why she was not on the front lines that day. Asuna blushed and replied that she had taken the day off to meet with someone. Lisbeth then noticed Asuna's earrings and quickly teased Asuna, but Asuna did not understand what she was implying. When Asuna heard a bell, she quickly disregarded Lisbeth's comment, realizing that she needed to hurry. Lisbeth then quietly remarked that Asuna had found someone precious. Asuna asked Lisbeth what she had just said, but Lisbeth told her that it was nothing and wished her good luck with the date. Asuna reacted by claiming that she misunderstood it before leaving. Now alone, Lisbeth wondered if she would find someone too. The next day, Lisbeth was busy forging swords when she heard a customer coming into her shop. The customer was Kirito, who had come to order a custom-made sword. Lisbeth, concerned about Kirito's wealth, wondered if he was capable of paying the costly fee due to his unimpressive appearance. Kirito reassured her that money was not a problem and asked for the best sword possible. When Lisbeth asked what about the sword's stats, Kirito answered that he wanted the stats to be as good or better than his elucidator. Lisbeth gave him the best sword that she had ever forged. Ignoring her protests, Kirito tested her best-made weapon against his monster drop weapon, and to her dismay, her weapon broke upon impact. After witnessing the demise of her best weapon, which was irreparable due to the extent of the damage, Lisbeth became enraged. She challenged Kirito, claiming that with the materials she needed, she could create 12 other swords that could break his sword in half. Kirito became intrigued and teased her, stating that he would like a sword like that. Lisbeth, even more angered, struck back, telling him that he would need to stay for the whole process, starting with the needed materials. Kirito stated that he can get it alone, and that she would just delay him. Lisbeth insisted that she was not weak, being an expert mace user, and that to get the material, a master smith needed to be present to be able to collect it. She then told Kirito that the material was from a dragon that eats crystal and was located on the West Mountain on the 55th floor. Traveling together on the West Mountain of the 55th floor, Lisbeth began to grow cold, so Kirito gave her one of his coats. They reached a place filled with crystals, causing Lisbeth to run forward with glee, eager to explore. However, she was stopped by Kirito, who told her to get a teleport crystal ready in case the dragon showed up, and to hide and not come out no matter what until the dragon was defeated. Lisbeth insisted that she could help, only to be adamantly refused by Kirito. Surprised, Lisbeth followed his instructions and stayed put. Kirito and Lisbeth soon encountered Exfan the White Worm. Listening to Kirito, Lisbeth hid in the crystals for safety, while Kirito faced the monster head-on. Kirito deflected the dragon's breath with his sword, and Lisbeth began to admire him. When Kirito dismembered one of the dragon's arms, Lisbeth, believing that the battle was nearly over, came out of hiding. The dragon quickly noticed her and targeted her with its ice breath, but Kirito came to her aid and shielded her. However, this caused them to fall into a large pit. The two survived the fall and reboosted their HP, but quickly learned that they could not use teleport crystals to get out of the pit. Lisbeth believed that the pit was a trap designed to kill players who fell down, but Kirito told her that if it was an anti-crystal area, there should be another way out. Kirito ran up the wall in an attempt to escape, but fell back down due to the slipperiness of the ice. The two then resigned to their fate and prepared to spend the night in the hole. Before falling asleep, Lisbeth asked Kirito why he had saved her. He responded by saying that he thought that dying with someone together was better than letting them die alone. Lisbeth then asked to hold Kirito's hand, and they fell asleep in that position. After resting for the night, Kirito dug a hole and found the crystallite ingot. Kirito told Lisbeth that they were in the dragon's nest, and the reason why the material had been so difficult to obtain was because it was, in fact, the dragon's feces, grossing out Lisbeth, who then threw the ingot to Kirito. Lisbeth then brought up the fact that the dragon was nocturnal and realized that it should be coming soon. Seeing the dragon coming back for the day, Kirito grabbed Lisbeth and ran up the wall to get on the dragon. He then stabbed the dragon with Elucidator, and the dragon flew out of its nest in surprise, carrying him and Lisbeth along with it. They held hands and detached themselves from the dragon when they were in the sky. While free-falling, Lisbeth confessed her feelings for Kirito. However, Kirito did not hear her over the roar of the wind. Undeterred, Lisbeth smiled and hugged him. The two returned to Lisbeth's shop, where Lisbeth forged the material into a sword named Dark Repulsor. Kirito tested out the sword and was quite impressed and pleased with the results. Lisbeth insisted that Kirito did not need to pay, offering to become his private blacksmith in exchange, which caused Kirito to blush. Lisbeth attempted to confess again, but was at that point interrupted by Asuna, who hugged Lisbeth, as Asuna was relieved to find her safe and sound, but inquired where she had been the previous night. Lisbeth replied that she had been in a dungeon with the guy behind her. Shocked, Asuna finally noticed Kirito and began to argue with him. Lisbeth then learned that Kirito came to her store based on Asuna's recommendation. Lisbeth was heartbroken when she realized that Asuna's crush was Kirito, but quickly covered her disappointment by telling Asuna that he had broken one of her best swords and also quietly told her that he was a strange but good person and wished her good luck. Asuna blushed again upon hearing this, and Lisbeth left the shop to console her hurt feeling. Kirito found her after searching through the town. Lisbeth told him that she was not used to the adventure and to forget everything she had said. Kirito told her that without meeting her, he would still be thinking that dying was better than to live life alone, and promised her that they would clear this game and free themselves from this world. Nearly 2 years have passed since the launch of Sword Art Online. On October 17, 2024, while returning through the forest from the 74th floor labyrinth, after defeating a lizardman lord, Kirito, a solo player, spotted the rare Ragout rabbit. After successfully slaying the beast and obtaining its dropped item, the famous S-rank ingredient Ragout rabbit's meat, Kirito headed to Agil's shop in the 50th floor's main city, Algate, to sell the item. Agil wondered why he wanted to sell the item, which is worth no less than 100,000 core, as he knew that Kirito had a lot of core on him already. But Kirito told him that his cooking skill was not high enough to properly cook the meat, thus he would just ruin the meat by cooking it, and he did not know anyone who could cook it. Coincidentally, Asuna, the vice commander of the Knights of the Blood, arrived to the shop to inform Kirito about the upcoming boss battle, and after being asked about her cooking skill, she informed the duo that she had completed it already. She was shocked upon seeing the rare item, but agreed to cook the meat for Kirito at her house under the condition that he gave her half the meat. Agil tried to persuade Kirito to let him savor some of the meat since they were friends, but Kirito instead told him that he would write him a 2-page report on the taste of the meat. After leaving Agil's shop, Asuna told her Knights of the Blood bodyguard, Kiradil, that she would be leaving for the day. However, he was unhappy with the idea, due to Kirito supposedly having a suspicious look on him. After a moment, Kiradil recognized Kirito as a beater and launched his anger and insulted him. Disgusted at Kiradil's actions, Asuna refused to hear another word from him and left with Kirito. The duo then headed to Asuna's house on the 61st floor's main city, Selmberg. While Kirito relaxed and watched the chef in action, Asuna prepared the meal with the Ragout rabbit's meat, though she described cooking in Sao to be too simple and boring. After enjoying the gourmet rabbit stew simulated by the taste reproduction engine, Kirito and Asuna discussed how the players had started getting used to their new daily lives in the Sao world. Asuna then tried to get Kirito to start fighting in a group, but Kirito resisted, saying that other players would be more of a hindrance to him. Asuna persuaded Kirito into partnering with her again after so long, so that she could reevaluate his swordsmanship. Kirito was reluctant but still accepted Asuna's offer in the end after she threatened him repeatedly with a butter knife, and they parted ways for the night. At 9 in the morning, a tired Kirito waited for Asuna at their designated meeting place in the 74th floor main city, Camden. Asuna then suddenly appeared from the teleport gate and accidentally bumped into Kirito. Asuna revealed that she was trying to get away from Kiradil, who then emerged from the teleport gate, prompting Asuna to hide behind Kirito. Kiradil was greatly displeased with Asuna's latest actions and wanted her to return to the Cobb headquarters. However, Kirito intervened, and this angered Kiradil, who then challenged Kirito to a duel in order to prove that he was stronger than him. Kirito picked the first strike option, and Kiradil launched the first attack, but Kirito easily won the duel by using Sonic Leap on Kiradil's weapon's weak spot, effectively breaking it and causing it to dissolve into polygons. Kiradil then pulled out a dagger and tried to attack Kirito again, but Asuna disarmed Kiradil and ordered him to return to their base in Grand Zone, relieving him of guard duty, much to his anger and dismay. She apologized to Kirito, and then they both left to explore the labyrinth of the 74th floor. Meanwhile, Po, the leader of the Laughing Coffin Guild, left the watching crowd. While mapping the 74th floor labyrinth, Kirito witnessed Asuna's swordsmanship in their battles against the monsters and thoroughly recognized how she earned the title of Flash. They soon came across an eerie-looking door and realized that behind the door was the boss of the floor. They took a peek inside with teleport crystals on hand. Inside they find the demon-like boss of the 74th floor, the Gleam Eyes. As the boss poised a battle stance and roared, Kirito and Asuna immediately ran out while screaming for their lives. After fleeing from the boss room, Kirito and Asuna took a break in a safe zone of the labyrinth. While discussing a counter plan against the boss, Kirito suggested having about 10 shield users in the fight. With the topic about shields brought up, Asuna found it suspicious that Kirito lacked a shield, stating that it was the biggest advantage of using a one-hand sword. as well as the fact that she had never seen him using the sword that Lisbeth crafted for him. Asuna explained that she had no use for a shield because she used a rapier, and a shield would thus slow her down, while others had varying opinions on using a shield. As Kirito was clearly uncomfortable with the question, Asuna, even though still curious, stopped pursuing the matter, as it was impolite to ask about other players' skills, and brought out a food basket. After tasting Asuna's special homemade food and her self-made sauce, Klein and his guild, the Furinkazen, entered the safe zone. After noticing Kirito, Klein asked why was he accompanied by someone, due to Kirito's solo player status, but after noticing Asuna, Klein was momentarily stunned by her beauty and tried to ask her out, but Kirito punched him in the stomach, causing him to fall down. The other members of Furinkazen looked at Kirito suspiciously for a few moments, but after a while they recognized Asuna and tried to get close to her, though they were held back by Kirito. As Klein stepped on Kirito's foot for payback and then tried to question his relationship with Asuna, they were interrupted by another guild known as the Army, who marched into the scene and had supposedly left the front lines after the boss fight on the 25th floor. The army troop commander, Kobats, ordered his troops to rest and asked Kirito if he had cleared the road up ahead, but after hearing Kirito having encountered the boss room, Kobats demanded the mapping data. Klein and Asuna were reluctant, but Kirito gave it to him, as he was going to make the mapping data public anyway. Kirito warned Kobats not to go to the boss room, as his party was too small and obviously too exhausted and in no condition to fight, but Kobats ignored his comment and ordered his battalion to keep marching. Thinking that the group might get themselves into trouble, Kirito, Asuna and Klein along with his guild decided to follow the battalion. Before leaving, Klein requested Asuna to look after Kirito. On their way, after Klein and his guild defeated some lizardmen lords, Klein believed the army teleported out, until they were interrupted by terrified screams coming from the boss room. Kirito and Asuna quickly ran to the boss room while Klein and his guild fended off more lizardmen lords that were respawning nearby. As Kirito and Asuna watched the army fight the boss, they noticed that the troops were in bad shape, and that the boss was blocking the exit. Kirito ordered the soldiers to teleport out, but one of them told him that the teleport crystals would not work. This reminded Kirito of the incident where the moonlit black cats were killed when an anti-crystal trap was activated. After Klein and his guild had managed to defeat the lizardmen lords, they proceeded to the boss room, but they watched in horror as the gleam eyes blew through the army and killed Kobats. As the boss was about to kill another member of the army, Asuna could not watch what was happening and attacked the boss, but was knocked away from its powerful punch. Kirito and then Klein soon followed her into the fray, and Kirito blocked the boss attack on Asuna. While Klein and his guild took several army members to safety, the boss started to prepare the energy attack on them. But Kirito cancelled it by attacking the boss back, causing it to stumble. But the boss retaliated and landed several hits on Kirito, decreasing his health gradually. Kirito was contemplating whether he should use it, but he then looked at Klein, Asuna and then some other army members and saw that they were on the verge of death. He then recalled about his previous guild, in which most of the members were killed when an anti-crystal zone trap was set off, and quickly decided that there was no time to think about using it. The boss then attacked Kirito as he was distracted, but Kirito managed to block the attack. He then requested Klein and Asuna to hold the boss off to give him some time to prepare. After finding the skill, Dual Blades, he activated it and called out his Dark Repulsor, and attacked with both his new sword and his Elucidator, greatly shocking everyone. He then activated one of his high-level Dual Blade skills, Starburst Stream, but after being hit multiple times, the boss managed to interrupt the attack by grabbing Kirito's Eludicator. As Klein and Asuna watched in horror, the boss began to attack Kirito with its sword. However, Kirito attacked faster and thrust his Dark Repulsor into the boss' groin area, killing it. After the boss shattered into thousands of pieces, Kirito noticed his HP was nearly depleted and fell unconscious momentarily, due to the mental fatigue he experienced during the battle. After Kirito regained consciousness, a terrified Asuna quickly hugged him, and Kirito learned from Klein that 3 players including Kobats had died in that boss battle, the first boss battle casualties since the 67th floor. Klein then mused at how dumb Kobats' actions were, and there was no point in fighting when it involved dying. Klein then asked about his Dual Blade skill, and Kirito explained that the skill appeared in his skill window 6 months ago, and that he didn't know the conditions he met to unlock it, which was why he didn't show it to the other players, as he was afraid of what could happen if everyone knew about it. Klein realized why Kirito did not reveal the skill, as he knew how jealous MMO gamers can be, and how he would feel if he was him and everyone knew about it. Klein and his guild then began moving towards the next settlement to unlock access to the next floor, while Asuna stated she had decided to take a break from the Knights of the Blood, stating she was scared if Kirito died and wanted to be with him. The next day, Kirito was hiding out at Agile's shop, and Agile was reading the paper. Kirito told him that the news were too exaggerated, as Agile said that a blue demon had killed an army squadron and was killed by a guy's dual-bladed 50/combo. Kirito mused how he had been chased throughout the morning by various swords and info brokers due to the revelation of his dual blade skill. Lisbeth then walked in and teased him that was his own fault for revealing their secret. Suddenly, Asuna arrived, bearing news that something was wrong. In the Night of the Blood's base, on the 55th floor, Kirito met with the famous Cobb leader, Heathcliff, who challenged him to a duel, for the sake of allowing Asuna to take a temporary leave from the guild, stating that he could not allow the vice commander to leave so easily, as she was a primary member of the Clearer group. If Kirito won the duel, then Asuna could leave to be with him. However, if Kirito were to lose, then he would have to join the Knights of the Blood. Seeing as there was no talking out of it, Kirito boldly accepted the duel request, stating that he would rather use swords than words.